Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending of where are you joining us from. My name is Lisbeth Becerra, Associate Program Officer working for the ITC SheTrades initiative, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this much expected policy dialogue. I can see that we already have over 100 participants, and I can see there are more connecting their audios. So while we wait for them, I would like to kindly request you to please introduce yourself through the chat box. Please share your name, title, country, where are you joining us from. I know from the registrations that we are expecting over 600 participants from over 60 different countries. So please share with us where you're joining us from, your name. It will be really great to see. I see Indonesia, I see Pakistan, Nigeria, Indonesia. Very much welcome to everyone. Myanmar, wonderful. It's great to see that we have so much uh, diversity for this policy dialogue. Well, while the introductions are running in the chat, please allow me to share some important information and some housekeeping rules. Okay, in your screen, you will be able to see some Zoom key functionalities that we will be using during this online session. To ensure a smooth session, I'll be kindly requesting you please to keep your microphones muted and videos disabled. This to ensure that the session will run smoothly and to make sure that the internet connection will be enough for all the participants that are joining us online. You will be able to disable your mic or disable as well your camera using the icons that you can see on the screen. You should be having it in the lower part of your screen right now. And if you are using a tablet or a smartphone, you should be able to have them as well when you click on icons. So, because you will be muted, still you will be able to interact with the speakers and attendees through the chat box. So I know for all of you that are introducing yourselves, you know how to use it. For those of you that do not, please, whenever you try to send something, use the chat box. You can click on the chat and start writing any questions or as well your introduction in case you haven't done so. Also, kindly note that this session has live interpretation in French and Spanish, and we really appreciate the four interpreters that we have with us, Rosaline, Sarah, Roberto, and Rose. Thanks so much. These four interpreters will be supporting us to translate everything to French and Spanish. And to switch your language, please click on the interpretation icon and select your preferred language. To only listen to the interpreters, select mute original because otherwise you will be hearing the voices in English and then the interpretation on top of it. So just to cancel this, click on mute original. Then as well, to all speakers, I'll be kindly requesting you to speak loudly and slowly so we can ensure a smooth interpretation. And last but not least, if by any reason you miss connection, please just log out and log in again, muting your mic, please. The webinar is being recorded and it will be shared with you. Okay, moving on. Um, this policy dialogue is a very important session given the importance that women have in the sector. Not sure if you know, but just in the textile and apparel sector alone, there are 50 million women that are employed. So it's clearly the importance that women contribute to this sector. And the aim of this policy dialogue is to serve as a platform for key stakeholders to share and learn on how to develop innovative tools, practices, and policies to increase gender inclusivity in the creative sector, and as well, with the aim to facilitate a thriving ecosystem for women to trade. The session is hosted by the International Trade Center and Project Cultural and Creative Industries implemented by GIZ and the Goethe Institute on behalf of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. I'll give you real quick an overview of today's program. We will kick off with opening remarks from Raymond Moser, Chief of Women, Youth and Vulnerable Communities of the International Trade Center, and Ms. Sabine Becker, Project Lead of the Global Project CCI for GIZ. After this, we will have two very interesting panel discussions, and we will move on for next steps and closing of this session. With no further ado, I'll pass it over to Raymond and then Sabine to deliver opening remarks. Raymond, the floor is all yours.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, loud and clear.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the introduction, Liz. Good afternoon, colleagues, partners, and friends. I am very pleased to welcome you on behalf of the International Trade Center to the first event in a series of events that will explore and promote diversity in the creative economy. Today's policy dialogue focuses on enhancing gender inclusivity in the craft and fashion industry. And I want to recall that this event takes place under the auspices of the Creative Economy Alliance. The Alliance provides a global platform to exchange knowledge, experiences, and ideas to support the creative economy and promote inclusive development. The Creative Economy Alliance was established for a partnership between Solutions for Youth Employment, the World Bank and GIZ, and ITC. Our organization is a proud contributor and partner of this initiative. And I recall that just in May this year, we had a kickoff event of the Creative Economy Alliance. And at the time, we had more than 200 partners who joined, including UNESCO, ITC, British Council, UNCTAD, OECD, IDB, Games for Change, South Africa, and many others. And on this occasion, it was great. We had a lot of partners who shared key insights from their work and expressed full support to this initiative. There was also an important desire to share more information and exchange more on the topic. And as an answer, the Alliance created the online Creative Economy Knowledge Repository that is a public good that you can access, where you find a lot of information about the creative economy and different good practices and lessons. We have also initiated 3 events on diversity and youth employment in the creative economy, and today's policy dialogue is one of them. And we also look forward to welcoming you to 2 more upcoming sessions that are led by GIZ and the World Bank under this same alliance. And I'm sure our colleagues will share more information in due course and also in the chat on how you can register and benefit from these further exchanges. But let's come back to today's session. And I want just to get us started by saying that as a universal resource, creativity is a key factor in economic growth and sustainable development in all regions of the world. And we also know that the creative economy is one of the fastest growing markets, which currently accounts for more than 3% of global GDP and also more than 6% of employment worldwide. We know that the creative industry employs a significant number of women. And we also know that women drive innovation and creativity in this sector and in the economy as a whole. But we also know that women are underrepresented in leadership roles or employed in low-skilled and low-wage jobs. So, for instance, we know that women constitute only 30% of the animation workforce worldwide, and only 12.9% of songwriters and only 2.6% of producers of the Billboard Top 100 are women. If you look at other stats, we see that women account for only 16% of all inventors listed in the Patent Cooperation Treaty. And from our work in trade, we know that only 1 company out of 5 that are engaged in exports are managed by women. So this gap represents a missed opportunity, and it is also a global concern. At the International Trade Center, we have launched the SheTrades initiative to support women-led businesses to increase their competitiveness and access more markets. And through programs such as the ITC SheTrades Accelerator program, which is funded by GIZ, and also in cooperation with the ITC SheTrades Outlook Network, we brought together different individuals from government, private sector, business support organizations who share the same objective to contribute to equal opportunities and level the playing field. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are having a very exciting and high-powered panel today. Individuals from the industry that will share with us key lessons and good practices on how we can unlock the opportunities in the creative industries. For one, I'm very excited about what's to come now. And when I was just connecting to the dialogue, I was also wondering myself, maybe we should have called this not from policy to practice, but from practice to policy. as we really hear from women in the creative industries, in business support organizations, entrepreneurs who have already made this a reality, and we can learn so much from them. And on that note, I'm very much looking forward to our discourse, our exchange, and this dialogue. So on this note, let me hand over the floor now to my colleague from GIZ, Sabine, who is the head of the Global Program for Culture and Creative Industries, to provide her introductory remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raymond, and thanks a lot to all colleagues who are there. We are also very much looking forward to hearing from you and from you as business people and practitioners. And maybe just one comment on our program. We have worked on the culture and creative industries in 6 countries for the past 5 years. Senegal, South Africa, Kenya, and then in the MENA region, Jordan, Iraq, and Lebanon. We work together with Goethe Institute, as Raymond already mentioned, and we have a focus on employment and income promotion in the culture and creative industry. And that's in this context that we were very happy to be able to support ITC SheTrades with this Accelerator program for the apparel, accessory, and home decor subsector in the CCI. And I don't know, I've seen a number of figures on the effects of the Accelerator program. I thought it was quite impressive in terms of, you know, the support to investments, support to additional jobs. I'm sure we hear more of that from the practitioners later on. And I would also agree with Raymond. I'm very interested to hear the practice to then maybe be able to have some, how would I say, to provide some ideas for the policy level. So looking very much forward to your contributions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Sabine and Raymond. And well, we now have a new title, right? From practice to policy. Thanks to Raymond for that, for suggesting that new title. We might change the title for when we share the recording with everyone here in the call. Well, with this amazing opening remarks provided by Raymond and Sabine, I'm very happy to now move with the next section of this online policy dialogue, to start with a really interesting paneling discussion entitled "Key Opportunities and Challenges for Women Entrepreneurs in the Textile and Apparel Sector." And I have the honor to introduce the inspiring women leaders we have with us today that actually will be sharing real practice to influence policy, as Raymond and Radman just mentioned. I have the pleasure to introduce to everyone here in the call Rayana Edwards, a pioneer in sustainable fashion and textiles, joining us from South Africa. Welcome, Rayana. Jennifer Muley, co-founder, CEO, and creative director of Yamini Group, joining us all the way from Kenya. Farah as well, Ashluni, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Farah. Yoya Footwear, that is founder of Yoya Footwear, that is the first footwear social enterprise in Jordan. Very, very excited to have you here on this panel. And all this panel will be moderated by Tara Muller, someone that really needs no introduction in the textile and apparel world. And with this said, I'll requesting you to please turn on your mics and camera for all speakers. And I'll pass it over to you, Tara. I'll as well disconnect the PPT so we can have better interaction among the panelists. Over to you.
I can't see everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I get the honor of moderating two panels. First is, like Liz was saying, this current panel, and the next will be business support organizations supporting women entrepreneurs in this sector. 50, well, what did we say? 50-something million women, billion women in this sector. Yet the biggest misconception is that we have the leadership roles because there's so many of us in this sector. Sadly, most of the positions the leadership roles are held by men. The gatekeepers to sourcing, financing are men. So it's really great to have the three of you here speaking so frankly. I know you all personally, so this is going to be really tricky to keep this to 30 minutes. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to try because this is a key issue, right? And I really am looking forward to hearing from the three of you, the opportunities, but also the challenges that you overcome and how you've done it. I'm going to start with you, Jennifer, and then this question is to the three of you. First of all, Jennifer, if you could explain who you are as a business, and then if you could really, because of, all of you have worked all over the globe here, different parts of the world, various different economic backgrounds with women, and it'd be great to hear from you. How do you think women can overcome these challenges? And first of all, what are the challenges they're facing, and then how they overcome them? No pressure in a short period of time. But Jennifer, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Tara. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to be in this panel. Yes, my name is Jennifer Muli, and I'm the founder of Giamini, which is based in Kenya. And our main focus is to preserve our heritage and tradition, as well as keeping our craftsmanship. Now, my background is more on humanitarian. I have worked in conflict, over 20 years of experience in conflict countries and post-conflict as well. I've worked in Somalia and Sudan, which was the most exciting for women. If you ask me, it's what has driven me to where I am today. And I've also worked in Rwanda and Burundi. The women basically experience the same challenges globally, I would say. And it's how the interventions come in that would really help them. That's what I have witnessed and experienced. My drive to begin Giamini was from my experiences with working with women in Somalia and Sudan, and watching women entrepreneurs, creating them from nothing and being in the conflict countries, but being so resilient to be successful. And for me, that was just, mind-boggling. And you get to understand and appreciate the strength of a woman. I had not experienced working in any programs in my own country. So at some point, I thought I need to drive the same passion that I see these women who have very little opportunities, but they can do so much. What if I reverse the same and do it in my own country? And coming from my personal experience, women have been the strongest people in my life. And I thought I want to change, to make a difference to another woman, the same way women have touched and made a difference in my life. So that's how I created Giamini. That's how Giamini was started. And we started working with women at the grassroots, as well as working with women from the informal settlements. So how can women be changed? There are very many diverse ways of interventions, depending on each woman's level, I would say.
And then Rihanna, can you tell us a bit about your business? And then the same question to you.
Sure. Thanks for having me here. My name is Rihanna, and I'm from Sorry for Change in South Africa. Well, what we do is bring in interventions that can help drive women towards self-sufficiency. And how we do this is through recycling of the traditional cloth, the Indian sari. And this literally is telling women to be able to look at what they have around them. Because we work in a recycling space, there could be treasures all around us. And so how do we use our God-given talents through our hands, skills, the upskilling which we drive on 3 different levels as an organization, and how can we churn that into profitable products that can be scaled into new markets? Our project touches on the essence of heritage, sustainability, from practice to understanding that profitability is sustainability. We believe that trying to formulate this model, a hybrid model, and taking it out of the MPO space and having a strong profit arm or business arm has helped us to move towards success, so that every woman in their training centers, in their spaces, in the townships or peri-urban areas are working from home, they can supervise their families, and they are able to make better decisions. with a percentage of 38% of unemployment in South Africa, this has been a very strong intervention, but at the same time, allowing for a new mindset of entrepreneurs to evolve. And I find that the minute we start getting women to believe in themselves, and as an organization, we are able to hold their hand through the process, already it's a win-win situation. And coming back to understanding how we train, through our senses, through a very feminine process that is not about do as we say, but allowing them to have space to use their own creative abilities and then look at what resources we have to drive it further into the communities. We need new role models in our communities. And on a very simple level, if a mom is able to put food on the table, what is she teaching her children? And this is the success, because our work is not for today, but it's driving it into the future. And combined with the right kind of skill, commitment, motivation, women are achieving their goals. And Sorry for Change, with the support and the different programs from SheTrades and various other organizations, we are able to filter that knowledge and education to them as well. And this, again, has been the key game changer. We are not working in isolation. Being here today with all these participants and experts, we are a global community, and as a collective, we can drive change. And women with the emotional intelligence, we can turn it into a strength and not allow it to continuously sit as a challenge. And that's what we've done. We've changed and converted the challenges into strengths. Yeah.
How would you say, because I think it's important, so a lot of people on this call today, and this is where in the chat too, please feel free to make comments and ask questions. You've successfully done that, but what were the challenges? Like, where would you say the biggest obstacles that were in the way as a female entrepreneur, or the women that you're working with that you see?
I think it's mindset. We're sitting and dealing with women that have lost hope. They do not have the right skills to find jobs, because we were indoctrinated to believe that if you have a stable and secure job, you sit. That's not the case any longer. And COVID has come to change so many different aspects of that reality. The minute we can break through the mindset from expectation and government has to take care of us, or we are eligible for charity, and we change that into, how am I participating in my life? What is my contribution with the gifts and talents that I have? And once we can overcome that, we can move on with the upskilling and the business aspects of what we're trying to achieve. Secondly, I think that it's understanding that organizations that has a balance, or what we're trying to achieve, a balance between for good and for profit, where does it sit? Does it sit in an MPO? Does it sit in a social enterprise? And in many countries, especially in South Africa, we cannot register a social enterprise. We still, so for right now, we run a hybrid model. So we have the development sitting in an MPO or foundation, and then we have the business as usual. So we have that combination. So I think that we really need to look at changing that.
And Farah, you and I have had many conversations.
That's right.
You work with, again, so many women in Jordan, and it'd be great to hear, well, first of all, introduce your business, because you have a great business model. And then secondly, as well, the challenges, and then, it's such a male-dominated business in Jordan, how you've overcome that, and then also the communities that you work with as well, too.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, first of all. Basically, Joya Footwear is a social enterprise in the footwear sector that incorporates traditional embroidery into shoes. The traditional embroidery is considered, we consider it as part of our heritage. It's called tatriz. But the main reason why I started this enterprise is I have a background in journalism, and I was often going to vulnerable communities and refugee camps to cover reports there. And this is when I came across extremely talented ladies that just didn't know how to convert this talent into a potential source of income for them and their families. So at the time I thought, why not try to incorporate into an innovative product, something we haven't seen before? And I thought of shoes at the time. So we started with a few pairs, and from there we slowly started growing. Obviously, it was a very challenging journey with a lot of bumps along the way. But I must say, from what I learned, the challenges, whether we encountered them in vulnerable communities or in huge fashion houses, they are the same when it comes to women. First of all, creative industry, to start with, are never considered like a necessity, especially in this part of the world. There's a bigger focus on education, on health. So anything that is creative comes as secondary. It is never something seen as a potential career that can bring you a great source of income, So a lot of women that start, especially I've noticed here in Jordan, they started like a hobby, or they would like to make a line, but they don't really have huge ambitions. And again, I'm just talking based on the experience I have, to take their business to a whole different level. Because there's this idea that the creative industry is just something you do on the side. Whereas as we mentioned at the beginning of this talk, it's one of the fastest growing markets in the world. There's a huge potential for it. But when it comes to these challenges, I think we find them worldwide, no matter where. Also, the same challenges that every woman face in every industry, being a woman, one has to put the family first at some point in their career. So then they have to think about taking their career a step forward or putting a pause. And this obviously, it hinders the possibility to reach leadership position. But if I speak in terms like as a business as a business owner, I have to say the challenges are encountered are absolutely not challenges in terms of there's not a law that stops me from achieving more than a man, The possibilities are exactly the same for everyone. It's more like a cultural barrier that stops women into making them believe that they can reach any position or any goal they want. And in fact, a small business that started from nothing, just a personal initiative to help some ladies at a refugee camp, turned into a business now that's basically selling everywhere. We reach out all the markets. So from my personal experience, I have to say, there is absolutely nothing that can stop us, especially not as women. The possibilities are there. But of course, it will require a lot of networking opportunities, a lot of support, mentorship. And I have to say, being able to speak English and connect with the different stakeholders in the industry helps a lot, because these talented women I met in these vulnerable communities, they also have the language barrier that don't give them the opportunity to reach out to possible opportunities. So all this to say, I could go on and on about it, but all this to say that the challenges are purely mental in a lot of cases, and the opportunities are endless, but one has to constantly look for them.
And then that would kind of lead to Jennifer. I've been so lucky to watch you build these, communities. I know how heritage is so important to you. How would you, or for Kenya, let's just focus on Kenya. If you could speak to the policymakers, what do we need to be doing to make women have long-term success in this sector? What would you like to see changed? No pressure. Oh, you're on mute. Sorry.
Sorry about that. Yeah. What I would like to see changed is the attitude, as the local attitude, because women or people perceive the sector to be like down at the ground, at the grassroots level, and they don't quite appreciate the work that these people or women put into putting good and beautiful stuff out. I would like to see the policies not just on paper, but it is important to have in practice, because you can have policies and then you're not implementing them. I think implementation of policies at all levels is very important. It's also important to bring in all stakeholders, to come up and agree on how to run this sector. One thing I fight or myself with is when it comes to the wages, it would be important to have a policy where the wages are leveled and we don't have manipulation, as in some instances you find a lot of manipulation of the women. Another thing is to see how we can create I wouldn't say, maybe a cooperative fund or a microfinance fund that is specific to the sector and allows the leverage of how women can borrow money, because we have a system where you do table banking and they guarantee each other. If we can have a system like that at the grassroots, it would help the women to grow, to elevate themselves to the level we want to see them at. We want to be able to appreciate what they do because they're amazing women. They need a lot of trainings on international compliance. They need a lot of product development, but we can do all that when we implement the policies at the grassroots and not just at the top level where it doesn't get to where it's supposed to be. And like my former panelist from Jordan said, the language barrier is also challenging when you have the international communities coming through and trying to pass or to train in financial literacy and stuff like that. It's important to have somebody who speaks the language to be able to, for the women to trickle it down to the women's understanding, you know, for them to be able to know what it is. And another thing is collaboration. I believe in collaboration. The Kenyan community has a lot of skills in the weaving sector and the beading sector, but we need to be able to share that technique, share the technique with new innovative ways that keep up with the market values for them to be able to sell the products. Because if we keep concentrating on the traditions, then we are missing out on the market. We need to be focused and understand that we need the women, for them to grow the cultures and traditions and for people to appreciate them, they also have to keep up with the international market. And for me, I've been very lucky because I form groups. I just don't find groups and leave them. I form groups and I make sure I create a hierarchy within the groups such that they have a way to communicate among themselves. And you have a channel where you can share information on how the women can improve themselves, how they can be more innovative, how they can do product development with themselves, because you also have to listen to them. They have very good ideas as well. So I think that fostering of the sustainability of each individual and collaboration brings together a unique, environment and community as a whole that will create and become more sustainable and retain the traditions, because they're running away from the culture. They don't appreciate it anymore because of the value it brings. But if we try and come in and change their mindsets and try to get the mentorships, which works perfectly, then I think it would be amazing. And it's a beautiful sector to work in. You'll create a lot of employment that employment is a problem globally, but that's a sector that can create a huge number of employment, because you can disseminate it in very many levels within the whole sector.
And I know I'm kind of changing this. We're going to go a little different. I'm sorry, Rihanna, because it's very similar. You and Jennifer, well, all of you actually, I'm going to put this to all of you, because all of you are working with your communities. You don't hold your knowledge. Rihanna, if you could be speaking to the policymakers, what would you say? What would you
Yeah, sure. Monitor the percentage of imported goods in the sector. I think that part of us upskilling women and allowing them to connect to the sector, it's a long process to be able to get to the quality that is needed. So in that process, recognize it, but also then understand what happens once there are good quality products that's being churned out. Do we have a space in retail stores? How are we collaborating? How are we collaborating with retail stores and corporate for that matter? Use us, the small entrepreneurs, SMEs, as a connector between a very vibrant labor force that are entrepreneurial thinking and entrepreneurial operational, and to the bigger sector. And we can sit in the middle. So it's having almost not a top-down approach, but a bottom-up, and let us meet somewhere halfway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it starts with, because when I started looking at the needs in the industry and wanting to build a brand and a heritage brand using the saris, we found that there was just no skill, because the industry has been marginalized by imports coming into the country in such large numbers.
Really good point. And then Farah, the same to you, because you're working with such vulnerable communities. What would, if you could speak to the policy makers, what would you say? What would you want? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah. So as a social enterprise, and I think all of us are in the same basket, our aim is we focus as much on the social impact as much as the obviously the sustainability of the business. But for us to be able to continue, we need as much support as possible, because unlike the traditional businesses, we don't try to minimize the cost at the cost of cutting down the labor force, for example. My aim is to employ as many women as possible and empower them as much as possible. But for that, we definitely need the support of the authorities. In Jordan, like in many other developing countries, we cannot register, like my colleague said here, we cannot register our companies as social enterprises. Hence, we can't really have benefits from the government. But they try to do it right now. Like they try to, even if we're registered as a regular business, they try to support us as much as they can, but it needs to be much more regulated in order to like have a clear path toward the future. Let's say, for example, if I work with a certain number of ladies, why should they be paying income tax if I'm paying them? They earn very little anyways. So maybe that could be waived, for example. Also, when it comes to the import-export taxes, our products are already more expensive than the average because they're handmade. Maybe like not just on a national but international level, they could be they could just take that into consideration. But obviously this takes a lot of discussions, and implementing these policies will take a couple of years, if not decades, to really be able to just work on an international level, taking into consideration that we are working with vulnerable communities. We are trying to create this social impact. But I understand also from a policy maker point of view, it's not easy to distinguish social enterprise from a regular business, because the line there are really blurred.
But that's where conversations like this are really important, right? So it's important that we keep flagging the issues and discussing them, which I think is, very important. I'm just checking, there's a lot of, are there questions? Put here, guys, in the chat questions. I was seeing there's been so many comments, I can't keep track. Everyone is agreeing with you. Everyone loved the bridge comment. Everyone's agreeing with the taxes, wages, imports. Okay, just saying, just pose your questions if you have them here. I'm going to keep going, and then if I miss, we have about 5 to 8 more minutes. I could be, speaking all day. If you could actually just write your questions, that'd be amazing. I don't know who this is. I'm so sorry, the names aren't popping up. Someone has their hand raised. But Jennifer, parting words, again, I don't think we're doing a good job. I should have explained better. You were sold internationally. You have container loads of product. You've done an amazing job of bringing communities together, and the trainings that you do. What would you like to say just to everyone here before we get into questions or before we close?
What I would like to say is we all need to believe in ourselves and believe in what we're doing. Because if we have that positive attitude towards the women, they begin to believe in themselves and they have so much to bring out. I think we should work together to enhance and be able to bring these women to a level that they can export the products directly, and that's through trainings. But one thing I would want to say is it's not all about policies. The policies have to be implemented. I think a lot of policies are just on book and paper, and they don't trickle down to being actualized. And I believe if we could do that, that would bring out the sector at a very high level as well. Another thing I believe in is trying to create those small cooperatives to bring masses of women. I mean, you know, my incident of the person who wanted a container, and I had to go out and look for these women to be able to fill a container. So that's what we need to do, to work together and collaborate and just, you know, work with a lot of passion, I believe, because our heritage is what we have, and our craftsmanship, nobody can take it away from us.
I love that. Sorry. Farah, I'm going to pose it to you, and then we do have some questions, but go ahead. What would you?
I agree as well. You know, it's not just about policy. I think at least in Jordan, there's also a lot of cultural restrictions. We also need to make everyone believe that whether you're a man or a woman, whether you come from a refugee camp or not, it is possible. If you work hard, you can make it. This idea of the American dream that American instill in their children since they're born is non-existent in this part of the world, especially not in the creative industries. I'm starting to see this changing in the past years, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And I think all it takes is one success story as an example in each community to then create the domino effect.
And then Rihanna, for you.
I think it's about consciously connecting to yourself, connecting to your community, and always trying to understand why you're doing what you're doing. What is the impact that is being created by one action, and what is the ripple effect? I believe in localization. You know, become conscious consumers. You know, why are you buying the products that you're buying? How are we honoring the artisans? Because with that kind of thinking, we are going to create more opportunities for them. We are going to create more job opportunities where the money can flow into communities, because that's really what we aim for. And stay authentic. You know, we all have such a beautiful heritage in our relevant countries, and, you know, be open to the new learnings. I've learned so much from you, Farah, as well as you, Jennifer, just sitting here. Thank you. You know, it's really, we are a global community wanting to drive change together.
No, that's all. As always, you know, I love you. Thank you. Okay, we do have questions. I was missing them, so I try to take pictures as we were speaking. I'm just going to pose it, and any of you can answer. Are your markets domestic? I can, well, be quiet. Or have you all found success in reaching export markets towards visiting your respective countries? Is there a local demand for your products? Phew, that was a long. So
maybe I can start.
Yes, go ahead.
I think we serve both local and international markets, but we have a segment of our local market that is very different from our international market. And the reason is we try to fit in more of what we feel fits based on different countries. Like I said at the beginning, you've got to understand your market to be able to know who you're selling to. And some of the things that might sell in Germany, for instance, might not be very accommodating in my own country. So we do have both. For anybody starting, I would advise them to start local, because then they get to understand their market, they just understand their products, and maybe limit what they have based on the local market's drive. That opens up your eyes for the export market, as opposed to rushing to the export market, getting rejected and coming back to get to have a feel from the local market. The local market is the best test to your products.
Very good point. Farah, I see you nodding.
Yeah, I mean, as for me, obviously, the business started only locally, but we saw an opportunity also in other countries. At the end of the day, we are preserving the heritage, and I think a lot of people find value in this heritage, in the handicraft product. So I think it's always good to start by testing, but for my business, my market is more the international one than the local one.
And then Brianna?
So we started locally, we started exporting, and then coming back to really focus on the local market, as I found that we just had so much of development work to do in quality, and the issues was consistency, because we have so many different groups and the products are coming in from different development groups and levels. So focusing now on the local market and really focusing on getting the product 100% correct and perfect in quality. I also found that it was easier to penetrate the international markets, as sustainable fashion, or we use gently worn saris in our production, and locally it was really difficult marketing initially, as there was a question mark around this. Do I really want to wear something that has been worn before, and all the connotations around that? And when we started, it was really difficult. Now it's sustainable is the buzzword and overused, I feel, in many circumstances, but we're really trying to penetrate the local market now, and hope to gain more ground in the international scene. Yeah.
I would like to be very, how do I say this? I'm very impressed with all of us, because the three of us could talk all day. We actually were on schedule. We kept it. I'm very proud of us. But I really want to thank you. It's a tricky topic, and it's hard to summarize in 30 minutes. And I think the three of you were so eloquent in how you answered. There's a lot of questions in the chat that I cannot get to. A lot of people are asking for your Instagram and different things. So if you wouldn't mind popping over to the chat, we'd really appreciate it. But I thank you so much. I've been so blessed that I've been able to watch you grow. Jennifer, I've known you now, my goodness, 5 years? Oh my gosh. It's been really exciting to see the journey. I know how hard you work. People here, there's how many people on this call? These women, their success did not happen overnight. What you've been putting into your communities, what you've been, all the hard work that you're doing, it's really showing. So congratulations to the three of you. And thank you again so much. You're so busy. So we really appreciate your time. And yeah, thank you. And I think now we're going to move to the other part, but I just want to say thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Tara, Rayana, Jennifer, Farah. I think honestly we could have a complete day or even a complete week talking about all this. But let me just start by going back to the schedule. Please let me know, kindly confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, after a really awesome panel from practice, if I got a few words, women are extremely creative. All the innovations they put through despite all the some of the challenges that they've been facing, I think something that's stuck with me is that honestly women can achieve anything that they say their minds on to, but they need some support. And actually we hear some recommendations for the amazing women entrepreneurs sharing to policymakers and business support organizations. So now actually we're moving to that part of the panel through this section that is entitled The Role of Trade Promoted Organizations and Business Support Organizations to Enhance Women Participation in Trade. So for this panel, I'm very honored to welcome Leah Sherian, specialist program implementation from Small Enterprise Development Agency in South Africa, who's actually hosts the SheTrades Hub in South Africa. And I have seen that Leah has been very active sharing information through the chat box on how can you join the SheTrades Hub in South Africa for those of you that are joining us from there. I also welcome Tulani Mbana founder, Fine Fashion Africa, joining us all the way from South Africa. And we have as well Rebecca Impeje, Rebecca, who's manager product development from Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency. I hope I have pronounced it correctly, Rebecca. If not, please feel free to let me know.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
Wonderful. And we also have from Keprova, Peterson Nyashawa, who actually, Peterson, thank you very much for having joined this important conversation because we also need men supporting women entrepreneurs in this creative industry and in every particular sector. So we really appreciate having you here in this panel. With this said, Tara, I'll give you the floor to lead on this important part of the policy dialogue.
Great. I just can't see. I just see Rebecca.
I can see Tulani.
Oh, really? Can we close your slide? Is that okay?
Let me close it.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry. Oh, there you guys are. Now I see you. Hello. I think it was very interesting hearing the three amazing previous guests. It was great how they all said the same thing. There's many policies, there's many different trade agreements, there's all these different great things. But the issue is a lot of entrepreneurs are not aware of them. I'll start with you, Leah. When I'm posing this question to all of you, how do you get that information to entrepreneurs? How do you support them with these different policies and things that are out there? Go ahead, Leah.
Hi, good afternoon from South Africa, Pretoria. From day one, what we've done is we've done a lot of mobilization. We started the SheTrades program during a very crucial time all over the world where it was during COVID. So what we did is that with the ITC consultant, we actually did virtual mobilization in all 9 provinces. And then after that, wherever we've tried to build stakeholder engagement, meaning whether it's with the provincial investment and promotion agencies, whether it's the other stakeholders like your Department of Women, Department of Agriculture, through the Department of Small Business Development, that is the ministry that we report to, we have built stakeholders which invite us to come and do presentations when there is a women's event, and SheTrades is a focal point during those presentations. So that is the main. And then opportunities like this, it's amazing that there are so many South African entrepreneurs that are here online, and I think majority of them I've never come across, and it's very sad. So I'm hoping that through this opportunity that all of them would be able to come onto the SheTrades platform and we would be able to assist them.
And then, Peterson, you do a lot of policy work. That is a lot of your focus. How do you get the policy information to women entrepreneurs? And welcome. Thank you for joining us. I realize I didn't say that. Sorry.
Thank you, Paula, and the panelists, the colleagues, and the participants now. Since 2010, the Kenyan constitution that was launched gave a provision for any policy in this country to be passed. There must be participation by all the stakeholders. And so the first one, if you want to initiate any policy, you reach out to the recipients through either trade associations, where a number of these women enterprises are represented, or through sectors where you feel that they have a large constituency of these participants. And so you bring them to a forum, give them your draft, you present to them, and they give you your views. Then we walk around to key towns presenting the same, so that we can get a good catchment of the participants giving us their views. So by the time we are coming up with a policy, it's something that has been informed by contributions from all the parties. Then we also bring that to the policy makers, different ministries. We bring them to a round table. We present that draft to them. Then they also give us comments. So by the time we are coming up with a final document, it is more or less done, but it doesn't end up there. It also goes now to Parliament, which now gives it the final nod before it's ascended by His Excellency the President, and it becomes law. If it's a legislation, it follows the same route. And so there's no one in this country who can come up with a regulation of its own or our own and try to request members to comply to it. We also have a provision in that same constitution that requires us to disseminate the final product to the entire country, publicizing it through our publicity forums, through our internet, through the social media, through our parent ministry, and through the print circulation papers, the widely circulated papers. And so we undertake to go that length such that everybody, if you are not reached during the formation stages, then you'll be reached through what will be circulating at the end.
And then I know, Rebecca, you both work with KPROBA, but from the business side versus the policy, how do you support women businesses to get the key information and start implementing?
Sorry?
Oh, Rebecca?
Can you repeat your question, please?
Oh, Rebecca. No, I was saying to Rebecca. Can you hear me, Rebecca? Oh, okay, great. Peterson, handles a lot of the policy part, but then for you, for KPROBA, how do you? That person was very enthusiastic about getting information to the businesses. Rebecca, what would you add to that? I know Peterson spoke a bit about the policy side, but from the business point of view, what would you say? How do you support women entrepreneurs to access these different things?
Thank you very much, Tara. I hope you can hear me. Thank you. Yes, we have a number of initiatives targeted to our exporters, and talking specifically about our women entrepreneurs. How do we reach them with these initiatives that are all geared towards export promotion and nation branding initiatives, and to make sure that their products and services are competitive and available to our regional and international markets. So let me start with the initiatives and then how we reach out to them. We have a number of initiatives, as I said. All our initiatives are market driven. We have a fully fledged market research department that researches the market trends, the customer preferences, the market requirements out there that we need to bring to the knowledge of our entrepreneurs. And we have a capacity building program. So we also have a department that is fully fledged to carry out capacity building to upskill our enterprises and bring them up to speed for them to be able to know what the market requirements are, what are markets looking for in terms of their product offerings, what skills do they need to have, how do they develop their export market strategies and export plans. So this department trains them. We have an annual program for training of our women enterprises and exporters. We also have another initiative in product development. We are aware that markets are changing through and through, so we need to bring our women enterprises up to speed and other exporters and on what the trends are in the market. So this is an integrated program that is geared to training our exporters to develop market-led products or modify what they have for the markets. So, and we also have outreach programs. So how we reach them for these various initiatives, we have a Center for Business Information in Kenya, and this center is open on a daily basis to the public. It is free of charge. They walk in there to get information on what activities are coming up, what are the current market requirements, what policies are there, what are the procedures, how do I export this, to which market, what prices are being offered. We work a lot with the ITC trade maps for us to guide them on what different markets are looking for. So we have the center as a channel for reaching out to our exporters. We also have a bi-monthly trade alert. It's a bulletin that goes out to our exporters by twice a month to give them these alerts, what is happening, what activities are coming up, what is new in the market. And also we have quarterly sectoral panel meetings. We bring sectors together, players in the same sector like tea or coffee or leather or dairy products or any of these prioritized value chains. We bring them on this like a webinar or a virtual session for them to be updated on what is happening, and we give them a platform to bring their challenges and how we can come up with recommendations that can be used to change policy or forward these recommendations to the ministry. So this, and we also have an e-portal. This is an online platform, which is an initiative by KEPROBA for us to showcase products and the services by Kenyan exporters, where they can interact with the buyers and sellers and for them to showcase what they have. It's an interactive platform where the agency uses to engage our exporters. So these are among the initiatives and how we reach out to our exporters. Thank you, Tara.
And this is important, right? I think just to some of you here, like what you were saying, Leah, I think a lot of us are not aware of all these different programs that BSOs offer. So it is so important to get involved and make sure that you are getting out there. And I think it's good to speak to you, Tulani, because you're in a unique position. You support a lot of business support organizations and advise them, and then you work directly with the businesses as well. Could you, further, how can we get more of this information to the women so they know what's out there so they can start implementing it?
Hi, everyone. So my name is Tulani, and I am the founder of Fine Fashion Africa. And how this business support organization was founded is that I've been privileged enough to be a beneficiary, so to speak, of the different initiatives and offerings of the different business support organizations in South Africa, such as SEDA, the Department of Trade and Industry, and so forth. And what we noticed was that a lot of them don't necessarily have sector-specific training for the fashion industry. So what we do is we offer our support to these business support organizations, not only from a sector-specific point of view, but we also offer executive life training, life coaching to the SMEs, right? And so what we do now is that we also offer PR, public relations, for these BSOs, because what I've found with a number of BSOs in South Africa is that we do a lot of, let's say, road shows, or we have pamphlets and so forth, and there's things online, but not every SME is connected, you know what I mean? And so now what we've done is we've seen the importance of public relations, because many people in South Africa are connected to the radio, to television. And previously, I've worked with financiers in the SME space, such as business partners, and they've gained so much traction because of that public relations. So now what we do is that when we offer the services of Fine Fashion Africa to the different BSOs, part of our recommendations then at the end of the training is to make sure that we offer the services. And if it's not us, then it's another agency. But we've come to highlight the importance of public relations as well as roadshows, because if you don't know about the information, then how can you access information? And I found that in a lot of small businesses, particularly women, they don't necessarily understand that there's so much out there because of the lack of information. So now we've started partnering with the BSOs, and we offer those services that are over and above the sector-specific training.
And it's back to what our other panel was saying, it's the collaboration part is so important too as well.
Yeah.
if you're not collaborating with people, how are you going to know these things exist, right? So
Yeah.
it's important. Leah, I want to ask you, and I'm actually going to ask all of you this. It is, and I hate to bring up challenges, but you work with so many different entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs across South Africa. What would you say the biggest challenges are for female entrepreneurs in this sector?
Number one, I would say, is that South African entrepreneurs generally, they're not entrepreneurs out of creativity, it's out of a need. So many of them are piggybacking on what somebody else is doing because they are doing well without tapping into their own creativity with what their strong points are. So that limits them in getting their business forward, no matter what the sector is. Secondly, with regards to the creative industry, is that capital. Women are not getting capital when it comes to building their business. And that is because they don't have collaterals to provide. Investors are not taking them seriously. There's a lot of gender bias still going on, as much as we love to say that, we're living in the 21st century. And then another factor is that we had taken Rihanna, would be a classic example. She was part of our first SheTrades event that we went for. And the kind of response that you get on the other side, they were so excited with the products, but the kind of response that you get on the other side is not tangible leads. That is a big problem that we're experiencing. And another great big problem is that you do get the leads on the other side, but you come back and they do not have the funding with regards to export, sending your samples over, having to do the leads, sending a prototype over, whatever it is, that costs a lot of money. Meaning some women have said that just a small package costs up to 8,000 rands. And that is just, it's exorbitant for a small business owner. So export funding is a big thing. And women, as much as we love our tea parties, we're not networking with businesses. And that is a major problem because they're not gathering information when it comes to what is required. They're not going forth and trying to inquire what are the needs for my product, what are the regulations, what are the standard of compliance that I need to follow. They're not doing any of that. They're starting a business. I think that is the biggest problem that I'm experiencing. They're starting a business within a year. They want to get export. They want to export their products without checking to see whether their product is tested, whether they've got all the certifications. Women are not tax compliant. They're still running a business from a personal account. It's the basics. And that kind of financial management capacitation, that kind of, gathering the right information so that you're export ready. They don't realize that it's a journey. They want to get to the pit stop or to the end destination all in one go. They don't want to work towards one stop at a time. And that is a big downfall for many entrepreneurs in South Africa.
Tara, you're on mute.
It's 2023. But no, like the previous panel said, and the nice thing is we have the youth of today on our call. But basically, it was really nice to hear what they were saying. And I lost my train of thought. but to say what you're saying, you need to be, you have to take advantage. You have to collaborate. You have to network is the biggest thing that is success. And then secondly, focusing on the local market, really before you start pushing that export. So it's good that you said that. And then Talani, I think I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to say, with what Leah was saying, like I agree. I think what women owned businesses or entrepreneurs need to understand is that your friends are not your market, right? You need to make sure that you do your research. And also compliance is a big problem. Formalize your business. You can run it from your lounge, it's fine, but formalize it. Make sure you can't access the things that are out there. And what I can say about the South African landscape when it comes to entrepreneurs is that there are so many programs that are out there. But if you don't do the basics, go back to basics, make sure that you formalize your business first and foremost, get a bank account. go and make sure that your business is registered, right? Don't run your business on your personal bank account. Pay yourself, you know, because sometimes you find that women, they don't pay themselves when it comes to business, and then you end up spending the business money and so forth. So even with accessing the training, the coaching that the BSOs offer, because CEDA does a great job at that, right? And especially when it comes to export development. But then if you're not formalized, then you can't even access that. We can do all the PR, we can do all the road shows, but if you're not doing the basic things of making sure that your business has a name, your business has a logo, then how are we going to know about you, right? So I just wanted to add on to that.
Good point. And then Rebecca, what, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, yeah. Okay, I agree with all those challenges. We also face them a lot in Kenya, but maybe I can add a few more. We face a lot of intellectual property protection challenges. Most of women entrepreneurs come up with very interesting ideas and designs and products, but if we don't protect them, then they are copied. So we get a lot of them coming across that as a challenge. Another challenge is their production capacity. They have the ideas, they have the skills, but for export, we talk about large volumes, and most of them don't have the capacity to meet large export orders. Another challenge could be the gender perspective policies, which are quite constraining for women, like ownership of land or other resources that would enable them to access funds. Technology is also an issue to most of them, because it has a lot to do with their production capacity, because if they don't have access to modern technology, then they would be incapacitated a lot. Another challenge we come across is their export expertise. There's need for them to be upgraded when it comes to market requirements, the export regulations, the current policies in the export field. And most of them who are very much interested in the export arena lack a lot of this export expertise. So this is what I can add as some of the challenges we have come across facing our women entrepreneurs. Thank you, Tara.
No, thank you, Rebecca. And this is actually, Faloke just put a really good question, and I'm going to pose this to Peterson, because you do a lot of policy. I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. But this is, taxation keeps coming up in Kenya, and it keeps coming up in South Africa. It keeps coming up in every country that I go to. How do I say, like, we need to encourage and engage governments to have, gender very, how do I say this, inclusive taxation. What would your opinion be on that? Sorry, or if you want to just make a comment to her question.
Well, let me start from the challenges first, then I go to the taxation issue. I want to say that if the women were to network in the same sector in form of clusters, such that they are able even to source collectively and save, instead of each one of them going to small pieces here and there, they could save quite a bit. And then information about market, about standards, about technology. For the markets where they intend to export, they need to now work backwards to comply. That is another challenge that we've always found in a number of these enterprises. And lastly is, as I've worked with a number of them to many trade promotion events, and I can attest that women are very hardworking, easy to handle. If they are facilitated with the correct information, you give them the information, they'll work quickly and comply. So if you don't give them information, then you'll expect challenges even at the borders, exit points, entry points. But I want to believe that that's why TPOs like Proper exist to unfold, give the information, build their capacities so that they are able to. We are kind of partnership between between them and government, because we are a trade promotion organization and we stand as a bridge. If there are issues, we factor those, we gather those challenges and inform policy to those institutions that are meant to be responsible. Now back to the taxes, you know, governments worldwide, even the UK, the US, they collect tax to enable them to operate. And from time to time, as governments change leadership, at times they want to look at how can we support our budget so that we are able to initiate development projects, offer services to the citizenry. And so from time to time, you find a few changes here and there. Of course, for a start, it might hurt, but I want to believe that in the long run, it's for the good of the nation, because these entrepreneurs need good roads, they need water, they need energy, part of which is a government that is providing. And so I can't say that our policies have been very punitive, but a few are, of course, because of the few challenge. I mean, a few heights from like now, our VAT was raised from 8 to 16, of course. But if you look at the EAC protocol, the VAT rate charged by all those countries at 18. So we basically came to the same platform so that we don't give undue advantage to our enterprises compared to those of our neighbors. I wanted to add that the number of policies that the government has developed today, be it the national trade policy, the Kenya-UK partnership agreement, the US draft that is being negotiated before it's being signed, they've made provisions for supporting women enterprises in all the sectors. And so I can only add that our women enterprises who are both listening and those that are the TSIs are representing, we have those documents with us, with the State Department for Trade, and us as a department responsible for research and policy, we can support to know what are the provisions so that they can take advantage of those elements. And I want to say that trade policy and trade agreements, basically they are there to open up markets, bring more markets for them to enjoy the benefits that come along with them. So the onus is on the enterprises to first understand what are the provisions in this law. They also provide provision for dispute settlement. As we do business with other countries, disputes are bound to happen. Those policy provisions provide a framework for you for redress in case such an event happens. They also support economies' resources to be exploited, enable enterprises to specialize. For instance, the US has opened up their market for textile and apparel, and currently we are doing 4 product lines, 60, 61, 62, 63. And so it is upon us now to see what is this that they can do. You can either join others who are in the same sector to fill a container, or you can do it yourself, so long as you meet the requirements of the US market or your partner, the buyer. What does the buyer want? When does he or she wants you to deliver the consignment on time so they're able to also distribute to their outlets? So basically, I want to add that the business community has a duty also to know what the government has entered with other trade partners, to be able to see if there is a provision that they can ride on to expand their businesses. And we are here as a trade support institution to help them enhance their competitiveness through compliance with the standards, the procedures, of course. Many of these enterprises, especially those that are starting up, and as I heard from our colleague from South Africa, other than setting up an enterprise, you need to brand yourself so that when we see your brand out there, we know this is from Tala, this is from Elizabeth, and this is from Rebecca. So it is us to support you, and we work with you to those markets and make it easier for you to trade. And if you have challenges, we are there to stand and support you in that cause.
And that's where dissemination of information is so important. To Lonnie's point, that you really need, that's I think at the issue, a lot of policymakers, I feel like I'm going to see a lot ahead, that these great policies are written, but then many people don't know how to implement them. So it's a really great point of what everyone was saying here today. We have 5 minutes. I'm very proud of myself. I would like to get a medal. I've been on schedule today. Again, I'm going to pose kind of the same question that I did to our previous panel. I'll start with you, Tulani. You know, again, this is a policy conversation. What would you like to say to the policymakers to help to better help women in our sector?
Take us seriously. When it comes to creative sectors, particularly the fashion sector, it's a $4 trillion industry. It's a big industry, right? Imagine what that can do to not just South Africa, but Africa in general. Take us seriously. You have so many people who are so great at what they're doing, but then it's so difficult to say export and so forth, because now we are creators. So I think that it's important for policymakers, when they are making policies where trade and exports are concerned, to make sure that fashion is high up there with the others that they take seriously. So that's what I would say.
And then Rebecca? You're on mute.
Unmute. Yes. What I would say to policy makers is let's come up with gender-friendly policies that would support our businesses, and let's not just have beautiful documents, but let's take them out there and implement them and follow through, and encourage a lot of participation from our business community, because we don't develop policies for ourselves, we develop them to support the business community. So it's one thing to develop the policies, it's one thing to receive recommendations from our business community, but it is something else to implement and follow through and monitor and change and all this. So yes, that's what I would say to ourselves as policymakers. Thank you.
Peterson?
I would say that from the policy perspective, when we initiate a document, we cater for everyone first, be they men and women, youth, BWD. But at the moment, realizing the challenges of, for instance, selling to the US, we intend to set up a distribution infrastructure, because you can go there for 2 days event. But is that enough? We want to set up distribution infrastructure in key markets such that we have the private sector run that to ensure that there is consistent supply of those what you want to promote in that market. Then whoever wants it can go to that center, place their order, they are able to reach back to the country so that suppliers can continuously supply. If there are any issues in terms of packaging and the like, the operators of that facility can relay that information back to us. Then two, we've also given a provision for review of the policy. If it's hurting you, we always give them a provision for feedback, such that if it's not sitting well with your enterprise, we see what we can do. It's a working document. It's a living document. It's not cast in stone. So that if it's hurting, then we can sit on a table and see what can we give and take. Each one of us will play a role in it, because it's not the policymakers' document. It's not the policymakers who are making the document for themselves. It's for the other parties to use. So if the users feel hurt by this document, then we can sit on a table and negotiate and agree that can we relax this part of the policy so that it can enable us to operate and achieve the objective for which it was set.
Yeah, closing points.
From my side, I think you're just asking the exact my master thesis question. What is the opinion? I mean, what is the suggestion to policymakers? And unanimously, all the participants had the same. They said we want dialogue with the policymakers. How do they know what policies to have in place, especially for women, if they do not understand the challenges that women are going through, if they do not understand the needs of the women? So that is a big suggestion that I put forth to all the policymakers. And not only that, even the having a affirmative action towards women having more businesses. South Africa has a focus on at least 30 to 40% of the business has to go to women. But many of the private and the public sector, they're not putting it into practice. So have stringent policies in place for women to have more contracts and more government or private sector businesses in place. So those are my two parting shots for policymakers.
That are trying to join this conversation. I really want to thank you. I wish you could. I hope you're looking at the chat, all of you. It's been amazing. People are really concurring with you, and I really thank you for being so honest and or blunt. I think is the best way of putting it, in a good way, with your feedback and your comments. I hope everyone, there's a lot of you writing and asking for things. Please get involved, get into a network. We can make policies, we can do whatever, we can, work so hard to get this great document like Peterson is saying, and Rebecca is saying, and Leah is saying, and Jelani is saying, but you have to know it exists. You have to get involved. There's so many opportunities out there. And like Jennifer, Farah, and Brianna said, collaboration, they all said it. So it's really, really important. Policy doesn't happen overnight, right? So you have to start getting really involved. I really want to thank all of you. It's not an easy conversation. Thank you so much. Peterson, you get a medal for being the only man here today. It takes a lot of courage. You did a great job. And thank you, Liz. This has been wonderful. So I really appreciate it for you having me here today too as well. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Tara, for the excellent moderation, and thank you, everyone here for all the Lija, Peterson, Tulani, Rebecca. Thanks for sharing your insight. We have not finished yet, as we're still waiting for closing remarks. And for this piece, I would like to pass it over to the project manager of STAP from the ITC SheTrades initiative. And I pass it over to Wendy for closing remarks.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I can. It's been such a great discussion, and we'd like to really thank you for your active participation in today's engaging and reflective dialogue. Liz, may I ask you, because we'd like to really take the opportunity to collect your feedback. So can you just take the time to answer some of the questions that will appear on your screen while I'll be delivering some key points that we wanted to share with you. Despite the many challenges, today's session really strongly reflects on the opportunities that exist for women entrepreneurs in the sector. Today, we've heard some really, truly insightful and practical experience on how we can increase gender inclusivity in the creative sector and facilitate the thriving ecosystem for women entrepreneurs and the community. Under the sector-specific ITC SheTrades Accelerator program funded by GIZ, and that forms part of the CCI program commissioned by BMZ. We've worked over the past 2 years with government entities, BSOs, women entrepreneurs, their staff, the supply chain, and really to ensure that we're strengthening the ecosystem for them in a sustainable manner. Sabine from GIZ mentioned that we achieved some great results, and I would like to share some of the numbers with you, because we've trained over 477 women-led businesses in these countries I've stated, with 44 business support organizations. More than $700,000 were reported by women entrepreneurs and $250,000 in investment. We know the importance of the investment for them to succeed in international market. And as a result, they reported over 300 new jobs created, with 65% going to women. And they were also connected to new suppliers, of which 77 were women. So it shows the importance of the sector. It shows the importance for the economy. And I'm glad we're all here today to show this importance and to really make changes at our locally. The program also fostered a wonderful network where women from Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, Kenya, Senegal, South Africa, and other countries where SheTrades has presence, such as Pakistan and Zimbabwe, I saw a few of them on the call today, can really collaborate and share with each other on a daily basis. And this is one of the results the team is particularly proud of, is this collaboration and the creation of this community. And how by removing some key barriers women entrepreneurs are facing and providing them with the right technical skills, information, network, and opportunities, they truly thrive and increase their confidence. They become the new role models that keeps on sharing the new skills and knowledge with the communities and others. It's been a real honor working with the BSOs and witnessing their active participation under the program, and how they really put the members at the center of their work, the commitment when they review, adapt their approach and services to really better cater for the network of women entrepreneurs. And of course, our inspiring women entrepreneurs who have impact at the heart of their businesses. Some, as we can see, have developed regenerative packaging in Durban, others working with marginalized communities in Mosul. These women are driving real, impactful, and lasting changes. So we really thank you all for taking the time of joining us today as we celebrate the conclusion of the SheTrades Accelerator program on this important topic. We hope you all taken away something from the session and already thinking on how you can increase gender inclusivity in the creative sector and facilitate a thriving ecosystem for women. As part of the ITC SheTrades, we look forward to continuing our collaboration on gender inclusivity in the creative sector through the ongoing and upcoming projects, through our partners, through the SheTrades hubs. We're currently present in over 16 countries, regions. Here we have the SheTrades hub from South Africa, through our events and our free platforms, tools and services such as SheTrades Invest, that you can all find under shetrades.com. We also look forward to continue the talk under the Creative Economy Alliance. So next week, we have a session from research to action using international cooperation to drive gender equality. And you have, we'll post the link shortly for you to register. And this is hosted by GIZ in collaboration with UNESCO. Then on the 7th of November, we have a session hosted by the World Bank, From Algorithm to Opportunities, Harnessing Generative AI for Young Employment. So we really look forward to continue the discussion. And allow me to say a special thanks to our distinguished panelists, the interpreters, to our wonderful partners, the GIZ team, the BSOs, TPOs, our inspirational women entrepreneurs, and our SheTrades Accelerator STAP experts, our great moderator. You're definitely getting a medal, Tara. But also, of course, the crew of Rita, Aiden, Alex, Joel, and so many of others, and also the team in Geneva, Lucy, Liz, Camilla, Jem, and Ellie. So once again, a huge thank you to you for attending the session. Have a great day, afternoon, evening, and see you all very soon.